Good morning, my fellow Canadians. In a time, I sit before you somewhat humbled. You see, I didn't think the Liberals could sink any lower as a government than they already have. I didn't think they could be any sleazier, any more underhanded, any more irresponsible, any more idiotic, any more stupid than they already have been. I was wrong. Mea culpa. If anything has demonstrated to the people of Canada the total ineptitude of those buffoons on the Hill, it's the current COVID-19 crisis. This is a time when we need a sane, sober, pragmatic, practical, realistic, mature government. And we've got none of that. The fiscal stupidity of the Liberals have left the cupboards bare. And now they're scrambling for money, scrambling for a bailout package to compensate the Canadian people who are out of work. Where's the money? We don't have any. Canada's gold reserves, how many of you are aware of this? Trudeau sold them all off. Well, Trudeau, the Liberal government, sold it all off. All of the gold reserves, the actual hard physical means to back up our currency, were sold off. It's public record, if you choose to look it up, at the billions, literally billions of dollars that the Liberals have handed out to other countries, when that should have been either used to pay down the deficit or used for the benefit of the Canadian people and Canadians. Now they need that money. We need that money. I'm retired, but my wife is in a service business. She's lost roughly 90% of her income. 90%. I was in a conversation with a very good friend of mine, young man, family man, very young son, sole income, sole earner, made good money, enough to manage to keep his head above water and take care of his family. He's got the notice of layoff. Where's the money? What's he going to live on? My way of thinking, if we had a government with some balls, we would be saying to China, look, you started this, you lied about how bad it was, and you allowed it to spread out of the country instead of sealing your borders and containing it within your own country. We're suing you for the money we need now. You think that'll happen? Economically, you take a look at what Canada under the Liberals has become. We were a highly respected nation. Quietly competent was the phrase I often use when I think of the Canada in which I grew up. We weren't splashy, we weren't flashy, we didn't make big tracks on the world stage, but everybody who knew us respected us tremendously. And in many countries, gratitude for Canada's role in the Second World War and the Korean conflict. Canada now has become an international laughingstock, which is embarrassing and shameful. Trudeau has debased the office of Prime Minister to the point where it's become internationally a joke. Oh, my poor Canada. And so, here we are, scrambling for money, scrambling to take care of the Canadian people, when this should have been done at the very outset. Any government that understands fiscal responsibility would have known, as any intelligent individual knows, put money by if you can. There are always variables. There are always the imponderables. There is always the unknown or the unexpected. You put money by if you can for those times. Not the Liberals. Not only spend what you do get, but overspend and put yourself in debt. Manage your personal finances the way the Liberals have managed the national finances and see what happens. Go ahead. I dare anybody out there to try that. You would have creditors hounding you. You would have creditors and debtors and banks, every lending institution pounding at your door, seizing your assets. But the Liberals, where's the consequences to their actions? Where's the accountability? We have a finance minister in the most scandal-ridden, corrupt, ethically and morally bankrupt government in all of the history of this country. Anybody remember Bill Morneau, when our finance minister, when he came to power, and of course the rules, the disclosure rules about assets. Do you remember, Mr. Morneau, you have a villa in France. I don't know if you remember this. This was just so perfect. It was the, oh, dopey me. I have a villa in France. I forgot. Sorry. Call me the goat. If he had not been caught, if it had not been disclosed, do you think he would have voluntarily disclosed? Again, morally bankrupt. What has my Canada become? Another little piece of absolutely egregious liberal sleaze in the current economic times. And they kept this very, very quiet. They voted, the Liberal cabinet voted themselves another raise. Pardon me. I don't have COVID-19. I smoke. Voting themselves another raise. I would love to see Pierre Poilievre do a list of how much they have hiked their salaries since they came to office. I'd love to see that. And I'd love to see that compared to the national average. That would be an interesting comparison for the Canadian people to see how much money they're feeding themselves. See my previous post about parasites. Stephen Harper. Ooh, Stephen Harper, the demon, the Liberal demon. Stephen Harper paid for his own vacations. Trudeau bills the taxpayers if possible. Stephen Harper paid for all his family care expenses out of his salary. Sophie Gregoire, I think, has 2 nannies and was asking for a 3rd. Billed to the Canadian taxpayer. Look at their food bill and their comestibles bill compared to Stephen Harper. And yet they demonize Stephen Harper. The press, oh my God, the press. I've gone on about this just as an example. I had a friend laughing because I said, if Doug Ford farted, the press would be Ford government contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. Trudeau could fuck a puppy on the front steps of Parliament, and the press would say, Prime Minister once again demonstrates his love of animals. Like, okay, it's an exaggeration, but it's not far from the truth when you think about it. The mainstream media, lamestream media, mainstream media, call them whatever you will. So here we are in a national crisis with the cupboards spent bare, a time when we needed everything we don't have. A responsible government, a mature government, a pragmatic government, a government capable of making hard choices. Roxham Road, perfect example. The illegal immigrants coming over the border. No screening. There is strong evidence to suggest we are taking in seriously violent gang members. MS-13 apparently has started to gain a foothold in Canada. Parasites coming into this country who will contribute nothing or just coming here, what I believe are called economic migrants. Roxham Road, they were coming from the United States of America. They were not coming from a war-torn nation where they were under threat of death or persecution. They were coming from a peaceful nation. They were in a peaceful nation. They just came here because they will get more money. I brought it up before. I worked 40 plus years, 47 years. A new Canadian coming here who has contributed nothing and probably will contribute nothing gets more than double what I get as a pension. This government, the current government, is and has been thus far a total disaster for my country. And yet, people will still apologize for them, disseminate misinformation, disinformation, and vote Liberal or NDP, because to me there's not much to choose between them in terms of stupidity and idiocy and a total disconnect with hard reality. So what are we to do? Things apparently are going to get worse. Social distancing, not a problem for me. I've been retired and I was always very comfortable in my own company. I have ways to amuse myself. I'm comfortable in my own skin. I have the option, thank God, being retired. As I told the wife, I earned it. But my heart just bleeds for people who are stuck in the position where they now have families to care for. And all the money they paid in their taxes should be coming back to them in terms of national benefit. How many businesses are going to close up and never recover? How many restaurants, how many service businesses, how many retailers will never recover from this? Where if they had been a considerate and reasonable tax burden, they could have put money by. They could have saved for the tough times. If the government had made plans for the imponderables, for the variables, for the unknowns, they would be in a position to aid and assist the people of Canada. And they're not. We have to pull together as a nation. I'm seeing altruism at the grassroots level. I'm seeing altruism from grassroots Canadians who are helping the elderly, doing shopping for them, running errands for them so they don't have to leave their homes and risk being exposed to COVID-19. And then we're seeing idiots. Oh, I heard something. I got to pass this on. If you haven't seen it, it was hilarious. The run on toilet paper. And some wise person wrote, the run on toilet paper just goes to prove how many assholes are out there. Isn't that priceless? I love that. Anyways, and it's true. You know, hoarding toilet paper? Really? Will we see a breakdown of the social order? I don't know. The theorists are saying this is the New World Order's attempt, the first shot across the bows to attempt to create the New World Order, one world government, and make us all slaves to this. Like that would happen with the US or Canada, particularly, given the temperament of the people and the number of firearms available, you would see an explosion into bloody civil war. So, is it possible? I won't say no. Is it likely? I would say highly unlikely, personally. So, this is a time where we have to hold our government's feet to the fire. To your MPPs and your MPs, to the MPPs in Ontario, we voted you into office. We need you to really step up and help us out now. And to the MPs, we need you to be what you haven't been thus far. We need you to man up. We need you to be responsible. We need you to be considerate. We need you to put aside partisan politics and step up to the plate. We need you to demonstrate leadership. Like we're going to see that anytime soon. If there is anything sleazier than this, I don't know what it is. Like I said, the Liberals have sunk to a depth that I would not have ever in my wildest dreams have seen possible in a government. They used a national health crisis and the deaths of Canadians as an attempt to seize unprecedented economic power. They tried to slide in their bill, they tried to slide in measures that would give them absolutely dictatorial powers over the finances of the average Canadian. To be able to enact fiscal legislation with no parliamentary oversight or debate. Given their record of economic stupidity, who in the God's name would give the Liberal government that kind of power? Thank God, I think it was shot down by the Conservatives. They said, no, 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 your economic bailout, you tried to slide in these other little codicils. No, 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 no. No, you do not have either the right, the intelligence, or the responsibility to enact measures like that. Can you think of anything sleazier? To use a national crisis as a means of trying to screw the Canadian people even more than they already have. I can't think of too many things lower than that. I mean, I've seen sleazy behavior, underhanded behavior from spoiled, self-centered, and moronic, and absolutely civically irresponsible idiots. But we do not expect that from our government. So, people, it's up to us as Canadians to do the right thing because we cannot rely on the government. It is up to us to hold our elected representatives' feet to the fire and say, step up now. Come up with a practical bailout package to assist the people of this country. Stop, totally stop all flights from infected countries. Enact real screening at the airports. Totally stop any illegal immigrants from coming into this country. And keep that in place until we have resolved our internal problems. Does that sound fair? That's my morning. Thank you.